Hello and welcome to RMIT University's Graduate Researcher Know-How series for Masters and PhD bioresearch students. One of the most important skills you'll need over the next few years is to be able to write abstracts for journal articles and conference papers. This workshop will offer you some handy hints for developing or enhancing this skill. We'll be examining abstracts from research papers. If you prefer to read the abstracts in more depth, we recommend that you pause this video now and download the PDF of abstracts from the link next to this workshop. A well-written abstract is valuable for a number of reasons. It's an efficient way for readers to identify if the research is relevant to their purposes. And hopefully it's written in such a way as to persuade the reader to read more. The short length of the abstract makes it easy to display in online search catalogues, and the key words listed after the abstract help guide the reader to related articles that might be as relevant or perhaps even more relevant to your project. Now, complete this activity. Read these opening sentences from 4 different abstracts. What disciplines do these abstracts come from? Remember, some papers are written by multidisciplinary teams, so you may need to consider more than one discipline. Here are 4 possible answers. The first one appears to relate to transport logistics, the second to electronic or computer engineering, the third to business, accounting and finance, and the final one to education, literature or creative writing. What do you notice about these sentences? What function do they perform as the first sentence in an abstract? I want you to read the opening sentences again and look at that function that they perform. Pause the video while you think about it. Well, 2 of the opening sentences go directly to the point, what the research is about. This approach is used for short abstracts, and some journals require this style. That's right, different academic journals or conference conveners often determine how you will write your abstract. The other 2 examples are establishing a general topic and a specific issue. The last example also identifies the gap in knowledge that the research will cover, and we can see that gap by the words less attention. We expect that these abstracts will be longer, the ones that start with the topic. This is the basic structure of an abstract or indeed a summary of research. A 7-sentence structure for a more traditional paper might look like this. There's a general background setting the context. The research issue or problem and the scope of the research are stated. Then that gap in the research is identified, followed by method, key findings or results, implications for the field, theoretical or applied, and applications of the research or future research opportunities. This is in fact similar to a traditional thesis structure, and it's a highly summarized form of exactly that. We know that this order can change depending on the topic and the way the writer wants to present it. So note that different disciplines use different styles, as do different journals, and so on. Other influences on style include multidisciplinary projects and the fact that English is an international language and is therefore also open to variation. In the next set of slides, we're going to examine different abstracts from different disciplines and identify their structures. We recommend that you pay close attention to the differences you can identify. One or a combination of these abstract structures may be useful for presenting your own research. So read this abstract from Business and Finance and list the key points in order of presentation. Remember that part of a sentence may indicate one point, while another part introduces another point. Pause the video now while you read and identify the function of these sentences in terms of structuring an abstract. We can identify the following key pieces of information about the research in this abstract. In sentence 1, we find the research topic and the focus, with enough detail so we know the scope of the research and the period or timescale of the study, that is, the global financial crisis. This is followed by the method used to achieve the aims and objectives in 4, and what the method seeks to reveal in 5, which is exemplified in 6. 7 shows the results, and 8 gives the implications of the results in alternative contexts. And then finally, 9 makes a recommendation or contribution. So we can see that there's an opportunity for future activity. Now look at this abstract from literary studies or creative writing and list the structural features of each sentence. Pause the video now. We can find 7 points connected to the research: the scope or focus, Australia, 1, the problem, 2, and the gap, 3. Then the writer alerts the reader to the fact that the paper is presented as a discussion, 4, about the method, 5, that captured data about the research aim, 6. The results are implied in 7, which outlines their implications for the field. So you can see that in 7 sentences we have a very, very, very clear summary of the research. Now let's read the logistics abstract. Pause the video and list the structural features. I can identify 9 points in this abstract. First, we learn about the research topic 1 and the scope, the Asia-Pacific region, 2. Then we're introduced to the method, 3, that aims to achieve the applied aim of 4. We get more detail about the variables used, 5, in a particular model, 6, that resolves particular problems with the tool, 7. Number 8 points to the results of the research, a classification tool the researchers have designed for a specific purpose, 9. Incheon Airport was their particular test case, so the results have particular relevance to this site. See how 9 or 10 pieces of information can fit into 4 sentences? This is very concise indeed. Activity 5 relates to electronic engineering and computer science. Pause the video to list the key structural features in the abstract. The opening sentence introduces the research topic, 1, and their significance and applications, 2. Number 3 raises a key issue regarding reliability, and number 4 explains what is done currently to deal with this issue. Number 5 introduces a new technology, nanotechnology, that complicates this topic. Number 7 introduces current research, and number 8 points to the purpose of the paper, a literature review of research on the topic to date. So there are 8 key points that have been made in 7 sentences. Pause if you'd like to review this. This 6th abstract comes from a journal article in the Health Sciences. Pause the video and examine its structure. Now, this is a different structure to the previous abstracts. It's a case study report that results in a set of recommendations for treatment of similar cases. The audience for this paper is the practicing chiropractor, which is why it's got so much detail. You can see how the aim and the situation is stated without any preamble. Then each section is given a heading, so there is no doubt about what you will read. The second section sets out the clinical features of the condition. The third section elaborates on the intervention and outcome. And section 4 gives the conclusion, summarises the issue, identifies criteria for establishing an at-risk patient, and recommends a course of action. Pause the video if you'd like to look at these more closely. We're going to explore a little more deeply now to look at the grammatical subjects of the sentences in the abstracts. Grammatical subjects refer to the first topic in each sentence or the theme. If you look at these examples here, you'll see that the themes relate to the stages of research, the purpose and aim, actions pertaining to the method, the findings, and the significance of the findings, and the conclusion. This is a good time to look at the PDF of abstracts because it's quite difficult to go back and look at them on the video. Choose 2 of the abstracts and list their grammatical subjects. Are they similar to the ones in the list we've just looked at, or different? As you can see from the table I've provided, the subject or theme of each sentence has a relationship with a stage in the research. We can see that the last abstract, the case study, presents as more direct and less academic. Pause the video while you compare. Because an abstract is the basic outline of a research story, it takes place across time, the past, the present, and the future. And we identify these shifts in English time by using verb tenses. A verb is an action or doing word. Let's go through the verbs you're likely to see in an abstract. The future tense, will, indicates a strong prediction, which is often difficult to make with accuracy. It's more usual to use hedging or tentative language in abstracts and in theses or dissertations. For example, is likely to result in, is likely to have the following effect. And we use words like predict, which is a strong likelihood, rather than using will. The present continuous marks an event occurring right now. Current research is focusing on. Now, this is not commonly used in abstracts. We would usually say current research focuses on, which use the present tense, which is the next tense that we're looking at and is one of the most frequent ones that you will see in an abstract. It shows a consistent state. It's like a state of fact. And in an abstract, you're not likely, sometimes you might see a reference, but you're more than, usually we don't have any references in abstracts. We have things like an important feature is, or research notes that. The present perfect tense is called the experiential tense because it marks actions that started in the past and have continued perhaps until now. So, for example, in recent years, X has demonstrated, and again, we probably wouldn't have names, but you might see this present perfect in an abstract when it's trying to show a difference between the past, present, and this current research that is going to change the game plan for the future. The simple past is also frequently used to mark completed actions, in particular in the methods section. So, for example, a small-scale survey was undertaken. And again, we probably wouldn't be putting in references to a research paper like a Gambate et al. Found. That's more likely to be found in the paper itself, in the literature review. You can see likely explanations for verb tense choices in the blue box on the right. In sentence 1, the present tense is expected is used because it refers to probability regarding a future condition. This statement provides the rationale for the study, or why it's important to conduct this piece of research. The study aim of 2 is written in the present to highlight that it's about to happen and that the aim has been set. It's interesting that we don't say the aim of this study was to, because you are reporting on the study. We can keep it in the present so that the reader feels that it is really current and up to date. Sentence 3 actually has a hidden phrase that begins, "In this research paper we explore." And we explore is in the present because the researchers are telling a story to the reader. Again, like with number 2, the aim of this study, the reader wants to feel like they're discovering the research themselves right now. Sentence 4 gives a fact about soil erosion. So the writer uses the present tense, is associated with. In sentence 5, the method is in the past tense because you want to show that the research was carried out, it happened, and it can't be unchanged. And in sentence 6, the analysis might usually be read in the past tense as we found. But in this case, the analysis is directly connected to results that have immediate practical application. So the present tense is used. And sentence 7 is in the present. We predict that these strategies could reduce erosion. These are important implications of the study. And of course, we predict again is really talking about the future. So we sort of see how at the beginning of the sentence we have an expectation for the future, and then at the end we have future strategies that can deal with that future expectation. So this is a really neat abstract. Look again through 3 of the abstracts presented in slides 8 to 12, or in the PDF file that you've downloaded. Identify the verb tenses in each sentence and explain why these verb tenses were selected by the author. And are there any verbs that you would prefer to modify or change, and why? I've put together a table of the verb tenses I identified in the abstracts. And again, we can see that the final abstract has many more verbs than the others and many more in the past tense because it's a case study. Pause the video while you look at these and compare them. Now it's time for you to do your own analysis of research paper abstracts that are relevant to your field of study. Why don't you download 5 abstracts or full articles related to your research topic from peer-reviewed journals where possible, or download 5 from one high-ranking journal. For each abstract, identify the order in which the research is presented. that is, the key research points or sentence functions. Note what the opening sentence does. Underline the sentence subjects and identify when we or I is used, and think about why. Circle all the verb tenses and explain to yourself why the authors have selected these verb tenses and not others. Are there any obvious differences in the abstract structures of the papers that you've chosen? Can you explain why? Is it because they are doing different things? Are they reviewing literature, or are they exploring a single piece of research, or are they hypotheticals? What are they actually doing? Now, follow the information that you gathered in this workshop and write an abstract related to your current research or topic of interest. It's time for you to have a go. Download information about an upcoming conference and write an abstract that addresses the conference themes. Or find a high-ranking journal in your field of research and write an abstract in the house style of the journal. You can write an abstract at any stage in your research, so give it a go. Summarising is a very, very effective way of working out where you are in your stage of research and what you're attempting to achieve. Here's a quote on how to keep up with scientific literature. We've seen how abstracts can offer a condensed view of very complicated research. So why don't you start practicing now? Cheers.